In the heart of the bustling city of Veriden, where cobblestone streets wound like serpents between towering buildings of stone and glass, there stood a small, unassuming shop. Its sign, weathered by time, read Elias Gray, clockmaker extraordinaire. The shop was a relic of a bygone era, nestled between modern establishments that gleamed with neon lights and sleek designs. Yet, despite its antiquated appearance, the shop was never without visitors. For Elias Gray was no ordinary clockmaker. He was a craftsman of time itself. Elias's clocks were not mere instruments to measure hours and minutes. They were intricate, magical devices that could alter the flow of time in subtle ways. A clock hung in the mayor's office, ensuring that meetings never ran too long. Another rested in the hospital, slowing time for patients in critical condition until help could arrive. And yet another, hidden deep within the shop, was said to hold the power to rewind time itself, though no one had ever seen it. Elias's daughter, Lila, was the keeper of his secrets. At 17, she had inherited her father's keen mind and deft hands, though she lacked his patience. While Elias spent hours hunched over his workbench, Lila preferred to explore the city. She often wondered why her father refused to teach her the deepest mysteries of his craft, why he always hesitated when she asked about the clock that could rewind time. One fateful evening, Lila returned home to find the shop in disarray. The door hung ajar, its bells silent. Inside, clocks lay shattered on the floor, their gears scattered like fallen stars. Her father was nowhere to be found. "Father," Lila called, her voice trembling. On the workbench, she found a note written in her father's hurried scrawl. "Lila, if you are reading this, I am already gone. They have come for the Chronos clock. Do not trust anyone. Protect the key at all costs. Remember, time is not what it seems." Lila's hands shook as she held the note. The Chronos clock, the legendary device her father had always refused to speak of. She had never believed it truly existed. But now, with her father missing and the shop in ruins, she had no choice but to accept the truth. She reached beneath the workbench, her fingers brushing against a hidden compartment. Inside, she found a small, ornate key, its surface engraved with intricate patterns that seemed to shift and change as she turned it in the light. As Lila clutched the key, a shadow moved in the corner of the shop. She spun around, her breath catching in her throat. A figure stepped into the dim light, their face obscured by a hooded cloak. "Lila Gray," the figure said, their voice low and gravelly. "You have something that belongs to us." Lila backed away, her mind racing. "Who are you? Where is my father?" The figure ignored her questions. "The key, Lila. Hand it over, and no harm will come to you." Lila's grip tightened around the key. She knew she couldn't trust this stranger, but she also knew she was outmatched. Summoning all her courage, she turned and bolted for the door, the figure close behind her. The streets of Veriden were alive with the hum of evening activity, but Lila paid no heed to the curious glances of passersby. She wove through the crowd, her heart pounding as she tried to put as much distance as possible between herself and her pursuer. As she turned a corner, she collided with a young man about her age. He stumbled back, his arms flailing as he tried to keep his balance. "Hey, watch it," he exclaimed, his voice tinged with annoyance. Lila barely had time to apologize before she heard the sound of footsteps behind her. She grabbed the young man's arm and pulled him into a nearby alley. "What are you?" he started, but Lila clamped a hand over his mouth.